Well, welcome to Big Nick's Meats and Treats. I've been talking about it for a couple days and I finally got around to it. I am going to do cream puffs. So I got this recipe when I was in junior high in the late 70s when I went to home ec. And I made it a few times in home ec, and then when I was at home I made it, and I thought the recipe was lost forever because I couldn't find it. And recently my mom got a hold of me and she said that she found it in her archive of recipes, the recipes that I had from junior high. So I made them a few months back and they came out perfect, so I thought I'd show you how to do it. First thing we're going to do is start off with a stick of butter and a cup of water in a pan, and you're going to bring it to a boil. Okay, and we'll show you how that goes here in just a second. All right, the water and butter is now boiling. So now I'm going to turn the burner down to low and put the flour in. It's 1 cup of sifted flour. You can use a sifter or you can just use a sieve. Get that sifted, and here you're just supposed to stir this for about 1 minute until it forms a ball and breaks away from the sides of the pan. Okay. So I stirred it for about a minute till it forms a ball. Now I'm going to take it off the heat and I'm going to incorporate eggs, 4 eggs, one at a time, and stir those in. And this is off the heat, no heat at this point. So I'm just stirring those eggs in one at a time. I'm trying to get that incorporated into the dough. This is called a pat a choux, by the way. All it is water, butter, flour, and eggs. Okay, so there's a total of 4. I'm just doing them one at a time. Keep stirring. It'll start to break apart from itself a little bit and make little clumps. That's okay. This is the labor of love right here. The labor that it takes to make good food. And when it comes to baking, for those of you that don't do a lot of it, don't try to wing it on the recipe. Okay? Baking is more of a science than savory cooking, so you really have to follow the recipe. And that's our last egg. Get that in there. Get that all nice and incorporated in there. That is our dough for the pat a choux. Okay, once I stirred the dough to the point where it would fall off the spoon when I lifted the spoon, I now put it on a cookie sheet with parchment paper. So the recipe calls for an ungreased cookie sheet, but I really like parchment paper. It works really good. The recipe says it'll make 8 to 10, and it says to make the dough in scant 1/4 cup drops, I guess, for lack of a better term. So I got 8 of them here. I'm going to put it in a 400-degree oven for 35 to 40 minutes or until they're golden brown. All right, it's time to pull out the cream puffs. We'll take them out. Oh, those look pretty good. Nice and golden brown. I'm going to leave them on the cookie sheet for a few minutes, and then I'll transfer them over to the cooling racks so they can sit on the cooling racks and cool, because we got to work with them a little bit later. In the meantime, let's get ready to make our homemade custard. All right, so for the custard, I took a 1/2 cup of sugar, 1/3 cup of flour, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and I whisked them together in a pan. Okay, now I'm going to put the stove on medium heat, and I'm going to slowly whisk in 2 cups of milk. And I want to do this until the mixture comes to a boil and starts to thicken. And once it thickens, it gets to the point it thickens, you got to stir it for 2 more minutes. So I'll get that done and we'll get right back to you. Okay, I let that mixture cook for 2 more minutes while I was whisking it the whole time. Now I need to take a little bit of the hot mixture out of here and put it in with 2 slightly beaten eggs, just to try to temper the eggs so I don't end up having scrambled eggs. And then try to get the eggs mixed with a little bit of the hot mixture. I'm going to put a little bit more in there, just trying to avoid getting scrambled eggs here. Okay, mix that in with the eggs, and then you gotta pour those eggs in with the mixture. And then I'm gonna put it back on the heat and let it come back to boiling with the eggs. So go back on the heat, and I'm going to whisk constantly until it comes back to boiling. Okay, I got the custard back to a boil. I took it off the heat. Now I'm going to add a teaspoon of vanilla. Get that incorporated nice and good into the custard. And then I'm going to transfer this to a bowl. I'm going to cover it with either wax paper or parchment and put it in the fridge and let it chill before we fill our cream puffs. Alright, we're back. So the custard's still cooling in the fridge. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to prepare the cream puffs for the custard. So I'm going to take a really sharp serrated bread knife and I'm going to just cut the tops off of these real carefully. They're pretty fragile, so don't get too aggressive with it. And then what you want to do is you want to pull all this eggy type stuff out of the middle to give yourself a pocket to put the custard in. Okay, and then we'll do that on all of them and get them all ready for the custard. Alright, so I took the custard that was in the fridge and I put it in this handy dandy pastry bag that I probably paid $5 genuine American dollars for. And I'm going to fill the cream puffs with the custard. Like so. And I'm going to do all those, but I'll just do this one for now. I'm going to put it on a plate. Put a little powdered sugar on it. Oh yeah, that looks good. Doesn't that look good? Take a bite of that. Actually, you know what? I think I'm just going to eat that with my hands. Take a bite of that. That's really good. That's really good. Watch me work. And I hate to say it, but now I need to go get on the treadmill.